Singer-songwriter Doyle Bramhall II may have 3 solo albums as well as albums with his band the Archangels, but he's a first-call touring musician as well. In part 2 of our interview, Doyle tells host Dave Levita how he got the gig with Roger Waters, what it's like to tour with Eric Clapton, and all about the gear he uses on the road.
When I turned 17, I got a call from Jimmy Vaughn saying that he needed a second guitar player in the fabulous Thunderbirds.
Cool.
And that's how I started my touring career.
After you were playing with Jimmy Vaughn, then you started your own band. Do I have the timeline correct?
I signed a deal with Geffen Records when I was 18 years old, about the same time that I went out with the Thunderbirds. And so when I got through with the Thunderbirds, I went back into pursuing that.
That band's called Archangel.
No, actually it was a solo deal that I had signed with them.
Oh.
I was living in Austin and I went in to try and figure out what songs I was going to put together for my album. In the rehearsal complex that we were in, it was called Austin Rehearsal Complex, and in the back room, Charlie Sexton had a studio. And Double Trouble were in there, and you know, it was maybe a year after Stevie had died, and they were in there just trying to get their chops up. So anyway, I wrote a song with Charlie, and we recorded it in his room, and that song turned out to be Living in a Dream, which was the first single off the Archangels record. But we just decided to do one gig opening for Robert Cray because they were looking for a band, and we just thought, oh, well, let's just put together this thing and we'll do covers. And we played that show, and there were A&R guys out there, and within a week we had, you know, probably 5 or 6 companies calling us saying that was, you know, unbelievable, we gotta do that. And so it sort of just had this buzz around it, and we all talked about it and said, well, you know, we were pursuing our own things, but there seems to be a lot of interest in this. Why don't we just try it? So that's how Archangels came about.
Was it long before you started playing with Roger Waters? How did that happen? Did he call you up?
Well, my A&R person at Geffen, when I made my solo record, played my record for Patrick, and Patrick just immediately said, I got to get this to Roger. And Roger called and said that he wanted me to make a demo of Comfortably Numb and Money. It's impossible to do a demo of Money.
Right.
I mean, it has so many different movements to it, and you know, to try and recreate that.
And where are you going to get a cash register?
Yeah, right. So I said, okay, I'll try and do something with Comfortably Numb. I was at home and I was listening to it, and I pushed the karaoke button on my tape deck, and the lead vocal and the lead guitar went away, but everything else was there. The production was there, all of it. So I went into his studio and I just recorded where David Gilmour sang. I recorded my voice over it and basically listened in phase to his guitar solo and tried to copy it as much as possible. And as soon as I nailed it, then we took his out of it. I mean, it was pretty flawless, the production on it. I mean, you couldn't even tell that there was, the only difference was me, you know?
Right.
So I sent it to him, and within 2 days, I had gotten the gig.
Cool. Well, I saw you play with Eric Clapton recently at Royal Albert Hall, and he let you step out, and you took advantage, man. You were amazing.
He's a pretty exceptional person. He's one of the most gracious people I've ever met. Yeah, he gave me a lot of solos. I thought it was a little too much. I would tell him, you know, you should be doing this. This is your thing, you know. But he was like, I like it. I don't know if Eric was always that way. I mean, maybe in Cream, if another guitar player got up, he would have smoked him and not, you know, not given him anything. But I think at this place that he is in his life right now, I mean, he just enjoys playing music, and if he hears something that he likes, he wants to hear more of it. You know, he doesn't care if it's like, well, it should be me doing that. He just wants to hear good stuff, you know.
What's your gear setup on the road? What do you use when you go out? Or what did you use when you went out with Clapton, for instance?
I had this crazy mothership board created for the Clapton tour, probably just out of nerves, you know. I just freaked out right before I went out with him, and I mean, I got a pedal board that's probably longer than this table and just about as wide. I tried to get as many pedals that would cover every song from the span of his career. By the end of the tour, I was probably using 3 of those pedals.
Like overdrives or?
Yeah, I was using Pete Cornish pedal, soft sustain. I use that a lot, and I use my fuzz face a lot. I always use my fuzz face. A line 6 delay, line 6 tremolo. I don't know, I have so much stuff on there, I would have to have it in front of me to remember.
Cool. And what about amps? What were you using?
I was using a 100-watt super bass. Well, I had pulled 2 tubes, and I had downsized to a 212 cab rather than a 412, just because it was blowing me away every night. Right. Yeah. So that was the main amp, and we played this a set within a set because we did 7 Robert Johnson songs, but it was sort of stripped down. On that, I would use a Gibson GA40 that I like because the tubes in it compress, and it just has this really beautiful compression built into it, and it's just great for a slide.
And what about guitars?
My main guitar on that tour was a 63 Strat. On stage live, I tend to go into my comfort zone, and I think my Strats are my comfort zone because I don't have to think about anything. I can just play them, and it's just a part of me, the Strat. So I don't ever have to think about it. For the slide stuff, I was using Gibson Les Paul Juniors, and even an SG TV Yellow. I just like the way those sound with slide rather than the Strat. Definitely has a thing you can do with it on slide, but I can't do it.
Doyle, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.